Hello, everyone, and welcome to M&M English Academy Podcast. I'm Matthew.
And I'm Rachel. We're so happy you've chosen to spend this time with us learning English.
You know, Rachel, before we start today's topic, I want to ask our listeners something. How many of you are listening to this right now and thinking, I understand English pretty well, but when I try to speak, I just freeze?
Oh, that's such a common feeling. And you know what? That's exactly why we chose today's topic. We're going to talk about speaking English with real confidence.
And this isn't just theory. We're going to give you practical phrases, strategies, and real examples that you can use starting today.
Exactly. Because here's the thing. Confidence in English isn't about knowing every word in the dictionary. It's about feeling comfortable expressing yourself even when you don't know everything.
So true. Now, Rachel, I'm curious. When you were learning English, what was the hardest part for you?
Honestly, it was speaking in front of native speakers. I would know what I wanted to say in my head, but when I opened my mouth, nothing came out right.
I had the same experience, and I think many of our listeners feel this way too. You study grammar, you learn vocabulary, but when it's time to actually have a conversation, your mind goes blank.
Exactly. So let's address this right away. Confidence doesn't mean you never feel nervous. Let me say that again slowly for our listeners. Confidence doesn't mean you never feel nervous.
That's a really important point. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Of course. Confidence means you speak anyway, even when you're scared. It means accepting that making mistakes is part of learning.
I love that. And listeners, pay attention to the phrase Rachel just used, even when you're scared. This is a useful structure, even when plus a situation. For example, I practice English even when I'm tired, or I try to speak even when I don't know all the words.
Great breakdown, Matthew. See, this is what we do here. We don't just teach you content. We show you how the language works in real conversations.
Exactly. Now, let's be honest for a moment. Speaking English, especially when it's not your first language, can be absolutely terrifying.
Terrifying is a strong word, Matthew. Can you explain what that means for our listeners?
Good question. Terrifying means extremely scary or frightening. It's stronger than just scary. So if something is terrifying, it really makes you feel afraid.
And speaking English can definitely feel that way. You're standing there, trying to have a conversation, and suddenly your mind goes blank. You forget simple words, you start sweating.
And then you walk away thinking, why did I say that? Why didn't I say anything at all? And it replays in your head for hours. Notice that phrasal verb, everyone. Replay in your head. It means to think about something over and over again.
Such a useful expression. And Matthew, here's something that really changed my perspective. Everyone, and I mean everyone, feels this way sometimes.
Even native speakers?
Even native speakers. Everyone worries about how they sound. We're all busy thinking about our own words, our own voice, our own what do I say now moment.
So once you realize that, talking becomes a bit lighter, a little less stressful. Now, what do you think holds English learners back the most?
From what I've seen teaching students, it's comparison. People compare themselves to others constantly.
Can you give us an example?
Sure. A student might hear someone speaking fluently and think, they sound so natural. They use such advanced vocabulary. I could never do that.
Right, and your brain starts ranking people. They're better, they're smarter, and suddenly you forget that you're a person too, not a performance.
Not a performance. I really like that phrase. You're not there to perform like an actor. You're there to communicate, to connect with others.
Exactly. And when you stop trying to impress people and start trying to connect with them, everything changes. Listen to that sentence structure. When you stop trying to do something and start trying to do something else. This is a great pattern for showing contrast.
Wonderful teaching point. Now, let's get practical. Someone's listening to this right now thinking, okay, that sounds great, but what do I actually say when I meet someone?
Yes, the classic problem. You finally feel brave enough to talk, and then nothing. Your mind is completely empty. We call this drawing a blank in English.
Drawing a blank, that's such a useful idiom. It means your mind suddenly goes empty and you can't think of anything to say.
Exactly. So here's a practical strategy that really works. Before you go anywhere social, a party, a meeting, even just to a cafe, do a quick mental check.
What kind of check?
Think about one or two interesting things that happened recently. Maybe you watched a great film, or you tried a new recipe, or something funny happened at work.
So you're preparing topics in advance. That's really smart. It's like creating a conversation toolkit.
Exactly. And for our listeners, this is golden advice. You can actually practice talking about those things out loud before you meet people. Talk to yourself in English.
Yes, don't be embarrassed about talking to yourself. It's one of the best ways to practice. You can do it while cooking, while walking, while taking a shower.
It builds both confidence and fluency at the same time. It's like doing a warm-up before playing sports. You don't just run onto the field cold. Notice that expression, doing a warm-up. This means preparing your body or mind before the main activity.
Perfect explanation. But you know what? Even if you didn't prepare anything, you can still start great conversations.
How so?
By noticing what's happening right in front of you, by being observant. That means paying attention to your environment.
Oh, you mean like making small talk about the situation?
Exactly. Let me give you a real example. Last week, I was in a long queue, that's the British word for line, at the supermarket. And I just turned to the person next to me and said, "Wow, everyone must be cooking something special today."
And what happened?
We started chatting. She told me about a recipe she was trying, and we talked for 5 minutes. It felt so easy and natural.
That's brilliant. So, listeners, pay attention to this technique. You can comment on things around you. The weather, the music playing, how busy it is, or even something like, "I like your bag," or "That's an interesting book you're reading."
And these comments work anywhere. In a lift, that's a British word for elevator, at a coffee shop, waiting for a bus. You don't need a deep philosophical topic. You just need to start.
This is such a helpful skill for English learners. You don't need complicated sentences. Let me give you some simple starter phrases. "It's quite busy today, isn't it?" "This weather is lovely." "Have you been waiting long?" I love this song.
Those are perfect examples. Notice how Matthew used "isn't it" at the end of the first one? That's called a question tag, and it's very common in British English. It makes your comment more friendly and inviting.
Great point. These tiny comments break the ice. Breaking the ice means making people feel more comfortable in a social situation, especially when meeting for the first time.
And once the ice is broken, the conversation can flow naturally. But here's the big question. How do you get good at this?
Practice, practice, practice. And that brings us to something crucial. The only way to stop feeling awkward is to go through the awkward stage.
You can't skip it. You can't skip it. That means you must do it. There's no way to avoid it. When I first started practicing my speaking skills, I made so many mistakes.
Me too. I felt like I had training wheels on a bicycle. Do you know this expression, listeners? Training wheels are the small wheels on a children's bicycle that help them balance.
So you're saying you felt unsteady and needed support.
Exactly. I was careful and slow. But gradually, you realize you don't need those wheels anymore. You just start speaking naturally.
The more you practice, the smoother it becomes. Saying hello, asking questions, making small talk, it all gets easier through repetition.
And here's the good news for our listeners. you don't need hours of practice every day. Just small moments count. What are some examples, Rachel?
Asking for directions when you're traveling. Chatting with the barista. That's the person who makes your coffee. Ordering food in English at a restaurant. Even leaving a comment in English on social media.
Every single conversation adds up. Each one builds your confidence, not just in English, but in yourself. And here's something important. Mistakes don't stop you. They actually teach you.
There's a saying I really like. If you're not making mistakes, you're not trying hard enough. Every mistake means you're pushing beyond your comfort zone.
Pushing beyond your comfort zone. That's a really useful expression. It means doing things that feel uncomfortable because that's how you grow and improve.
Exactly. Confidence isn't about never failing. It's about realizing that failure doesn't hurt as much as staying silent does.
So true. And eventually, this word means after some time, you stop obsessing over perfect grammar and start focusing on meaning.
Obsessing over something means thinking about it too much, usually in a negative way. So stop obsessing over every little grammar rule when you speak. Focus on communicating your message.
That's when English begins to feel authentic. Authentic means real and genuine, not fake. The language starts to feel like it belongs to you. You stop speaking to impress others and start speaking to express yourself. That's real progress. Now, here's something that really transformed my conversations, and it might surprise people.
What's that?
It wasn't about speaking more. It was about learning to listen properly, to listen with intent.
Listen with intent. What a powerful phrase. Can you explain what that means?
Intent means purpose or aim. So listening with intent means listening with focus, really trying to understand, not just waiting for your turn to speak.
That's so important. Most people listen just to reply, but real connection starts when you listen to understand.
Exactly. When you truly pay attention, you notice things, the emotions behind the words, what someone really cares about. And here's a useful technique, mirroring.
The moment you realize that, you stop worrying about sounding clever and start sounding sincere. Sincere means honest and genuine.
And that's when English stops being a subject you study and becomes a language you live.
I love that line. When English becomes part of how you think, not just what you memorize, everything transforms.
Now, there's one more thing we should teach our listeners, something people rarely talk about.
What's that?
Knowing when to end a conversation gracefully. Gracefully means in a polite, smooth, and kind way.
Oh, that's such a good point. You can be brilliant at starting conversations, but sometimes finishing them politely is the real challenge.
Right? We've all been in that situation where the chat is going in circles and you're thinking, how do I leave without being rude?
So, what are some good phrases for ending a conversation politely?
Great question. Here are some useful ones. It's been lovely talking to you, but I should get going. I'm going to grab some lunch, but this was really nice. I've really enjoyed our chat, but I need to run. Let's catch up again soon. I have to head off now.
Those are perfect. Notice that they all have two parts. First, something positive about the conversation, and then a polite reason for leaving.
Exactly. You're not cutting them off rudely. You're closing the loop naturally and kindly. Closing the loop means finishing something completely and properly.
This leaves a positive final impression, which is so important for making connections.
Okay, Rachel, I think it's time we recap everything for our listeners. Should we go through the main points?
Yes, let's do a nice, clear summary. Matthew, why don't you start?
All right. First, lesson. Confidence doesn't mean never feeling nervous. It means speaking despite the nerves. Say this with me, listeners. I will speak even when I feel nervous.
Excellent. Second point, stop comparing yourself to others. You're not there to perform. You're there to connect. Remember, everyone feels nervous sometimes, even native speakers.
Third, prepare some small topics beforehand. Think about interesting things that happened recently. Practice talking about them out loud, even to yourself.
Fourth, use your environment. Notice what's around you and make simple comments to break the ice. Simple phrases like, "It's busy today," or "I like your jacket," can start great conversations.
Fifth, practice in small moments every single day. Every conversation counts. Ordering coffee, asking for directions, chatting with a shop assistant.
Sixth, embrace your mistakes. They're not failures. They're proof you're learning and growing. The more mistakes you make, the faster you improve.
Seventh, listen with intent. Don't just wait for your turn to speak. Really listen and mirror what people say. It shows you care and helps you connect.
And finally, eighth, learn to end conversations gracefully. Use polite phrases that acknowledge the conversation and give a friendly reason for leaving.
If you can do all of that, start naturally, connect genuinely, listen actively, and finish kindly, then you're already on your way to speaking English with real confidence.
And remember, listeners, confidence isn't built overnight. It's built conversation by conversation, mistake by mistake, day by day.
Be patient with yourself, be kind to yourself, and most importantly, keep practicing.
Now, before we finish, let's give our listeners some homework. Matthew, what should they practice this week?
Great idea. Here's your homework, everyone. Step 1, choose 2 topics you can talk about. Maybe a recent trip, a hobby, or a movie you watched. Step 2, practice speaking about these topics out loud for 2 minutes each. Step 3, this week, start one conversation in English with a stranger, just one. It could be online or in person.
And remember, if you make mistakes, that's perfect. That means you're trying.
Post a comment telling us about your experience. What happened? How did you feel? We'd love to hear from you.
Yes, please. Your stories inspire other learners.
So that's all we have for today's episode of M&M English Academy Podcast.
If you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful, please share it with a friend who's learning English. Sharing is caring.
You can find more episodes by searching for M&M English Academy on your favorite podcast platform. We release new episodes every week.
Keep practicing, keep speaking, and most importantly, keep believing in yourself. You can do this.
Remember, every expert was once a beginner. You're not behind. You're exactly where you need to be.
Until next time, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Matthew.
Keep speaking with confidence.